Morning, everybody. Today's class is about clinical examination of cardiovascular system. This comprises of examination of the precordium and blood vessels. A careful assessment of the arterial venous pulse should always precede the examination of precordium. Auscultation of the heart should be taken only after thorough examination of the precordium has been done. Most of you as beginners, you tend to auscultate directly rather than examine the patients in detail. So you need to know the landmarks, the anatomical landmarks in cardiovascular system. The first is, what is precordium? Precordium is defined as the anterior aspect of the chest wall that overlies the heart. Different borders of the heart and position of the valves are demarcated on the pericardium. It is not pericardium, it is precordium. It is precordium to make the, so there is a confusion between pericardium and precordium. So precordium is the anterior aspect of the chest wall that overlies the heart. Pericardium is the covering of the heart. So we need to know in detail, and most often we need to take the history of the patient. They may just come with complaining of tiredness, lethargy, restlessness, breathlessness, chest pain and edema. It can be dependent edema which is mostly the pedal edema, or they can be cyanosis and clubbing. So once you take the history, the name, age, sex, the presenting illness, the history of presenting illness, the personal history, the family history, the drug history, we tend to go and examine the general physical examination in cardiovascular system. So the other landmarks in cardiovascular system other than the precordium are the midclavicular line, the line dipping in the middle of the clavicle. That is, the midpoint of the clavicle is determined by taking the point on the clavicle midway between middle of the suprasternal notch and the tip of the acromion. The anterior axillary line is defined as the vertical line descending from the anterior border of the axilla. Mid axillary line is defined as the vertical line descending from center of the axilla. Posterior axillary line is defined as the vertical line descending from the posterior border of the axilla. And the more important thing is the parasternal line, which depicts the right ventricular hypertrophy. If there is a parasternal heave, this is defined as the vertical line passing through the costochondral junction close to either of the sternum. So the first and foremost thing is we need to examine, take the history. Second, know the anatomical landmarks. And finally, we go on to knowing the borders of the heart. Borders of the heart can be the base of the heart, which is represented by the line joining the right third sternocostal articulation to the point to the level of left second intercostal space, just internal to parasternal. And that is the base of the heart. This extends from whereas the right border extends from the right third sternocostal articulation above to the right seventh intercostal articulation. It is slightly curved and the convexity is to the right. Whereas the left border of the heart is traced by line joining the point at the level of the second intercostal space, just internal to parasternal line above and apex B below. So, and following which you should know the valves, where are they placed. We'll be going into the detailed examination. So the four local, other than knowing the important thing like general physical examination, the vitals, the pulse, BP, temperature, the body mass index, and the saturation. And local examination, it includes, that is, the process of examination of cardiovascular system consists of inspection, that is, you are inspecting without touching. Palpation, you feel, and percussion is you use the middle finger of the left hand and tap it. and you auscultate the stethoscope of the precordium. That follows which is also followed by the examination of arterial and venous pulse, a recording of blood pressure, and brief examination of the history. So, any alteration in the function of CVS are detected by thorough examination of precordium and blood vessels. So, what is that which is important for us with respect to CVS is check for the degree of pallor. It can be mild, moderate, severe. So, that is about anemia. The degree of anemia gives the rough idea of dynamics of the circulation, heart rate, and blood pressure. What does it give? It gives the dynamics of circulation, that is the hemodynamics, heart rate, and blood pressure. Whereas the blue is discoloration due to reduced hemoglobin called as cyanosis may be present in condition where there is mixing of arterial blood with venous blood as seen in Fallet's tetralogy or patent duct truncus arteriosus. The third one is edema, that is due to accumulation of fluid in the interstitial space. We need to check for the presence of edema in the dependent parts of the body. In cardiac patients particularly, the location of edema depends on the posture of the patient. It is detected by putting the pressure over the distal end of the tibia if the patient is mobile. But if the patient is confined to bed, the sacral area should be examined for the presence of edema. So, the fourth one is clubbing. Nail bed should be examined for presence of clubbing. If cyanosis is present along with clubbing, this suggests there is right to left shunt. Clubbing may be seen or present in congenital cyanotic heart disease and SBE, that is subacute bacterial endocarditis. Dyspnea, this means difficulty. Difficulty in breathless can be orthopnea and PND. Orthopnea is just breathlessness. PND is when they lie down due to the accumulation of pulmonary edema, there can be orthopnea, that is due to whenever the heart fails due to the back pressure, the fluid goes to the heart and causes pulmonary edema, or it is commonly with orthopnea and PND. PND is paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. So, breathlessness is a feature of heart failure. Dyspnea may be present even at rest. What are the importance of abdominal signs? We have hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, ascites, and epigastric pulsations. The first one is if there is a tender hepatomegaly, it may indicate congestive heart failure. When you press the liver, if it is painful, pain is a feeling, whereas when tenderness is elicited. Splenomegaly spleen may be enlarged in bacterial endocarditis. Ascites may be seen in heart failure due to ascending edema. And epigastric pulsations may occur due to following cardiovascular disorders like aortic pulsation, usually in thin and nervous patient, aneurysm of the abdominal aorta, hypertrophy of the heart, especially the right ventricle, giving an epigastric systolic thrust. Following the general examination, so we have seen what is anemia, what is the importance, cyanosis, edema, clubbing, dyspnea, abdominal signs. We go on to know what is the importance of pulse, BP, and venous pulse. We need to examine the radial pulse at least for 1 minute, as we have already learned. The arterial pulse of both sides should be examined to check the bilateral symmetry, and the femoral artery should be examined to detect radiofemoral delay if present. Brachial, carotid, temporal, popliteal, posterior tibial, and dorsalis pedis artery should be examined also. So, this is what we will tell you about the general blood flow throughout the second one is the blood pressure, the arterial blood pressure, which is usually recorded with an instrument called as sphygmomanometry, preferably the mercury manometer. It should be recorded on both sides in cardiac patients. BP should also be recorded by both palpatory and auscultatory method, especially if the patient is hypertensive. The third is the venous pulse, which is examined especially in the neck region. So it indicates the pressure in the right atrium, that is the jugular venous pulse. How do we do this? How do we perform? We need to examine the neck veins in good light with the patient reclining at an angle of 45 degrees. If the patient is lying on a cardiac bed or a couch, the head end of the bed can be raised to 45 degrees for this purpose. Otherwise, the back of the subject can be supported so that the neck muscles are relaxed and the subject reclines at 45 degrees. Study the level of the pressure in the internal jugular vein, which indicates the jugular venous pulse. The pressure is expressed in terms of centimeters per vertical distance between the top of the column of the blood and the sternal angle, which you can see here. This is what the jugular venous pulse. How do we see? The pressure is expressed in terms of the centimeter for the vertical distance between the top of the column of the blood and the sternal angle, which corresponds to the upper border of the clavicle. So you are getting an idea, with the subject reclining at 45 degrees. It may be easier to recognize the pulsation in the external jugular vein, but pulsation in the internal jugular vein is more reliable because it directly reflects the pressure changes in the right atrium. External jugular vein are not reliable because of the following reasons. The venous valves present in the external jugular vein prevent the smooth conduction of venous pressure. As the external jugular system passes through the facial planes, they are likely to be affected by external compression. So the neck of the subject is reclined at 45 degrees because normally in this position the sternal angle, so why do you put them in 45 degrees? This is mainly because at 45 degrees position, in this position the sternal angle, that is at the angle of Louis, comes to the level of the clavicle. So you can see it comes to the level of the clavicle. If the person is in good health, the sternal angle corresponds to the middle of the right atrium. So if it is normal, it corresponds to the middle of the right atrium and approximately represents the normal venous pressure. Whatever be the position of the subject, when the subject is propped up at an angle of 45 degrees, the venous pulse appears just at the upper border of the clavicle. As in this position, sternal angle and clavicle remain at the sternum level horizontally. Therefore, venous pressure above the clavicle in this position is considered as raised. In the neck, there are chances that the arterial pulses may be confused with venous pulsations. The venous pulse can be differentiated from the arterial pulse by the following parameters. The venous pulse is better seen than felt, whereas the arterial pulses you can feel it than seen. Second is the venous pulse has a definite upper level which falls during inspiration and due to the blood is drawn into the heart. Third is by exerting moderate pressure above the clavicle with the finger, the venous pulse can be obliterated but not the arterial pulse. If carefully observed, 2 to 3 waves can be seen in venous pulse. So that's about jugular venous pulse. So we have seen, after knowing the general physical examination, we should know the pulse bilaterally to know the symmetry, the blood pressure on both the sides, particularly if they are hypertensive, and venous pulse, which is the jugular venous pulse, 45 degree we recline, and because the sternal angle comes in angle with the upper, why way we put, the neck of the subject is reclined at 45 degree because normally in this position the sternal angle comes to the level of clavicle. Okay. So the next one is, we go to the local examination. After knowing the general examination and having recorded the pulse, BP and JVP, the local examination is done with 4 readings. Particularly the examination of the precordium, the anterior aspect of the heart is called as precordium. The process of examination of precordium consists of inspection, palpation, percussion and auscultation. So what do you inspect? What do you see? We see for the skeletal deformity, the dilated and enlarged veins, the pulsations. We need to inspect the shape of the chest. This is looked for bilateral symmetry. Any abnormal bulging or depressions are noted, like pectus excavatum or carinatum. Abnormal pulsations can be there in the chest wall, the epigastrium, the roof of the neck, or inspected for any abnormal pulsations. The veins on the chest wall are inspected for presence of engorged veins. Apical impulse is also looked for or seen. All this is done in a tangential at the level of the, most of the time we kneel down and see the level of the chest. So what is apical impulse? It is the lowermost and outermost definite cardiac impulse. It is the thrust of the apex of the heart. It is usually seen in the precordium in the left fifth intercostal space, about 1 centimeter medial to mid-clavicular line. So shape of the chest, abnormal pulsations, dilated and engorged veins, and any veins on the chest wall. If there is superior vena or outlet obstruction syndrome, there will be flow from above to downwards or below to upwards, or apical impulse, which is a definite pulsation, which is a definite cardiac pulsations, which is to be examined. The skeletal deformity is look for precordial bulging or depression, and any engorged veins, which can be superficial on the thing, or the pulsations in the which we have seen. So what do you palpate? You are going to palpate mainly the apex beat, that is the cardiac apex. We need to describe the position and character of the apex beat. Where is the apex beat located? It is located at the fifth intercostal space, 1 centimeter medial to mid-clavicular line. Once again, it is a definite pulse which is located in the fifth intercostal space, 1 centimeter medial to mid-clavicular line. The position of the apex of the heart. This is done by first placing the, how do we do this? We need to place the palm of the heart on the pericardium to feel the apical impulse. And then by placing the ulnar border of the palm on the pulsation area horizontally. So feel the palm and then keep the ulnar border over the pulse. Finally, we locate the pulse by the tip of the middle or index finger. If the apex is not palpable in the supine position, ask the subject to sit down or try to locate the apex in the sitting posture. If the apex is still not palpable, ask the subject to lean forward as much as he can in the sitting posture and try to locate the apex in the leaning position. Even if it is not palpable, palpate the corresponding area of the chest on the right side to look for any dextrocardia or dextroversion of the apex of the heart, which is most the viscera is shifted towards the right. The apex should never be palpated in left lateral position because it shifts laterally. So we need to note the position of the apex in the intercostal space in relation to mid-clavicular line. The intercostal space is counted from above downwards. As we come towards the sternal angle, it is the second intercostal space. So as we come from the manubrium stem, the most elevated point on the sternum corresponds to the second intercostal space, which joins to the manubrium sterni. The space below the second rib is the second intercostal space, and accordingly other intercostal spaces are counted. So once again, apex is defined as the lowermost and outermost definite cardiac impulse. So, and other pulsations are present in the precordium. Apex can be easily identified. The apex is normally, so we have seen the position character. Now how do you locate it? It is normally located in the left fifth intercostal space, 1 centimeter medial to mid-clavicular line. When the subjects are asked to locate the apex, before they palpate and localize, they must start counting the intercostal space and they put the tip of the finger medial to the mid-clavicular line in the fifth intercostal space to feel. So this is totally wrong. So we need to count the ribs, go to the mid-clavicular line, keep the palm and the ulnar border in the fifth intercostal space, then locate the apex beat. So what are the causes of impalpable? It can be pleural effusion on the left side, pneumothorax, air in the pleural cavity, or it can be hydropneumothorax or pericardial effusion, or fibrosis, obesity, or the apex normally lying under the rib or dextrocardia. So having known the position of the apex, the next thing is we need to know what is the character. Normally the apex beat just touches and slightly elevates the examining finger. The abnormal characters are tapping apex seen in advanced mitral stenosis, or it can be a forceful, well sustained apex seen in gross left ventricular hypertrophy due to chronic systemic hypertension, as it causes pressure overload and increase to wall thickness. That is well sustained apex. If it is forceful and ill sustained, seen in right ventricular hypertrophy or mild to moderate hypertension, left ventricular hypertrophy, in the left ventricular hypertrophy due to volume overload, as occurs in aortic regurgitation, there occurs increase in ventricular cavity size rather than the thickness. Therefore, the apex becomes forceful and ill sustained. The second thing, see, most of the time when we are doing palpation of feeling with the hand or touching, we need to confirm the inspectory findings. So what are the inspectory findings? Shape of the chest, abnormal pulsation which can be suprasternal or epigastric, or veins on the chest wall, apical impulse, and we confirm it with the palpatory finding. So in palpation, the precordium is palpated by placing the palm of the hand firmly on the chest wall. Normally a thrust is felt over the palm. The exact place of the thrust is located. This confirms the apex beat. The distance of the apex feet from the midline or mid-clavicular line is measured, and the intercostal space in which the apex beat is felt is identified from second rib downwards. That is the angle of Loewy, the prominent portion, sternal angle. So the next one is, what is parasternal heave? When you place the ulnar border of the palm on the left parasternal line and feel for pulsations, Whether the palm is lifted with each pulsation has to be looked for. Presence of parasternal heave suggests right ventricular hypertrophy. Normally we keep a pen on the parasternal and see whether there is movement of the pen above down. So we need to check for thrill. We need palpate over the precordium for thrill. A thrill is a palpable murmur. A thrill is best appreciated when the patient holds his breath in expiration. Thrill may be present in valvular defects or in aneurysm of right vessels, or they can be tender points. So when you palpate the precordium for the presence of any painful points over it, a tender point over the precordium may be due to costochondritis, which is seat syndrome, the myalgia, fracture of the rib, and pleuritis. And we need to check for the flow of veins, as I told you. If there are any veins which are located on the chest wall, if the veins is dilated and engorged over the precordium, we must detect the direction of flow in the veins. In superior vena cava obstruction, the direction of blood flow in the veins is from above downwards. In inferior vena cava obstruction, the direction of blood flow in the vein is from below upwards. And also the position of the chakra is checked along with the position of the apex to assess the position of the mediastinum. If there is a shift in mediastinum, if there is a pull and push of the mediastinum, okay, we need to check for that. So third one is the palpation, the percussion, wherein the middle finger is used for the left hand and the middle part of the phalanx, and the middle finger of the right hand is percussed freely at only the movement at the wrist joint, not at the elbow joint, and we need to know the borders of the heart. Percussion is less significant in the examination of CVS, but it is carried out sometimes to detect the extent of cardiac dullness in conditions like pericardial effusion. Cardiac dullness is detected by performing a light percussion. The details of the rules of percussion are already discussed. We will be discussing in RS. It should be compared on both sides, above downwards, using the middle finger, that is the pleximeter, with the plexar. So what is the most important thing? Now that we have started using the stethoscope, with the help of stethoscope, we auscultate different areas of the heart in the following sequence. That is, first you check for the pulmonary area, second is the mitral area is checked first, followed by pulmonary area, aortic and aortic and tricuspid. So once again, first is mitral, pulmonary, aortic and tricuspid. We need to use the diaphragm, the bigger one, to hear the heart sounds. So we can see, we have seen JVP, these are the three waves, the ACV is the positive, and you can see the four areas, the mitral area, M, the tricuspid area, and so where is the mitral area? Mitral area is where the mitral valve is placed. It is the obliquely placed behind the inner end of the left fourth intercostal and adjoining part. This is the valves. The tricuspid valve is located in the obliquely behind the right fifth costal cartilage. On the right side, just adjoining the second intercostal space, is the aortic area, which lies obliquely across the left half of the sternum at the level of the lower border of the left, whereas the pulmonary is placed horizontally at the upper border of the left, cartilage. So once again, the mitral area, that is the valves, how they are located, but the mitral area corresponds to the apex beat of the heart. The first heart sound is best heard over the mitral area. Normally this is present in the left fifth intercostal space, 1 centimeter medial to mid-clavicular line, but in different pathological conditions, the position of the apex changes. Therefore, the auscultatory area of the mitral valve changes with the position of the apex. The pulmonary area is an area half an inch in diameter with the center in the left second intercostal space close to the parasternal line. The aortic area is half an inch in diameter with the center in the second intercostal space close to the parasternal line. Aortic murmurs are best heard in the left third intercostal space close to the sternum. Therefore, this area is called as second aortic area or Erb's point, whereas tricuspid area is an area which is half an inch in diameter with its center on the left side close to the sternum towards its lower end. So you can see the aortic, the pulmonary, the tricuspid and the mitral. These are the 4 areas of the heart, and which are the most important thing is we auscultate for the odd sounds, which are 4 odd sounds. The best are the first and the second odd sound. So we need to know the first odd sound is mainly closure of atrioventricular valves. So 4 odd sounds have been described here. The first odd sound is the S1, the second odd sound is the S2, the third odd sound is the S3, and finally the fourth odd sound is S4. S1 and S2 are heard normally. So S1 and S2. Study of odd sounds is phonocardiogram. They are produced during each cardiac cycle. They can be recorded with the help of an instrument called phonoaudiograph, and the recording is the phonocardiogram. Out of this, only 3 heart sounds are audible. The heart sounds are produced due to abrupt closure of valves, vibration set up in the wall of the heart, and turbulent flow of blood. So as you all know, the first heart sound, the S1, it is produced due to closure of the atrioventricular valves. It represents the beginning of the ventricular systole. It is a systolic odd sound. What are the characters? It is also called as love. It is low pitch with a frequency of 50 to 80 per second, soft in quality with a duration of 0.05 seconds. It's long, louder and low pitched. So beginning of the ventricular systole and AV closure, atrial. It can be accentuated in exercise or hyperkinetic circulatory states like anemia, beriberi, and in hypertension. A diminution of first heart sound can be in shock, acute MI, myocardial infarction, constrictive pericarditis and pericardial effusion, cardiomyopathy, obesity and emphysema. So it's a closure of the mitral valve is best heard in the mitral auscultatory area, which corresponds to apex beat and normally situated in half an inch medial to the mid-clavicular line in left fifth intercostal space, whereas the first heart sound is due to closure of tricuspid valve is heard in tricuspid, which is located in the fourth intercostal space on the right border of the sternum. It indicates that simultaneous closure of mitral and tricuspid valve occurs and which indicates the onset of the ventricular. Is there a splitting? As you all know, there are two components now, the mitral and the tricuspid in the first heart sound. The mitral closes slightly before the tricuspid valve, but this splitting cannot be detected by auscultation because both the components are very low pitched and they merge into each other. Therefore, when splitting of the first heart sound is heard, it is always considered as pathological. So, what is the second heart sound? It is produced due to abrupt closure of, first was due to AV valves, second is due to abrupt closure of semilunar valves. Second heart sound is primarily caused by closure of semilunar valves. Rushing of blood into the ventricles due to the opening of AV valves also contributes. What are the characteristic features? It has a duration of 0.025 with a character of sharp, high pitch, and the frequency is around 150 to 200 per second, and it's also called in layman term as dub. The second heart sound is due to closure of aortic valve, is best heard in the aortic auscultatory area, which is located on the second intercostal space on the right border of the sternum. So this is how the apex beat is, angle of Lewis and for the location of the apex beat. So these are the four areas of the heart. As you all know, the second heart sound signifies the end of the clinical systole. Loud A2 can be due to systemic hypertension, or the loud diminished aortic component is seen in aortic stenosis and aortic incompetence. Loud PO2, the pulmonary component, is seen in pulmonary hypertension, or the pulmonary component can be diminished in pulmonary stenosis. We didn't have splitting in the second heart sound because they were low pitched and it merged into each other. In spite, there were two components. But in second heart sound, the splitting of the second sound is due to the gap between the aortic and pulmonary components. It is easy to detect because the aortic and pulmonary component valve closures sounds are high pitched and can be separated. So due to the high pitched and they can be separated. So splitting can be appreciated. The aortic valve closure is audible in all areas, whereas pulmonary valve closure is audible only in pulmonary area. Splitting is most easily heard in children and may not be audible in elderly patients, subjects. What is the mechanism of splitting? The splitting of the second heart sound is due to separation between closure of aortic and pulmonary valves. The closure of pulmonary valve always follows the closure of aortic valve. So which closes first? The aortic valve closes first. The splitting is distinctly heard during inspiration. During inspiration, more blood is drawn into the thorax due to the suction effect. Therefore, venous return to right atrium increases and the right ventricular stroke volume increases. This increases the duration of the right ventricular systole. Thus, P2 is slightly delayed, and also inspiration. During inspiration, left ventricular stroke volume decreases because the blood is pooled in the dilated pulmonary vessels and dilated left atrium. This dilatation occurs due to negative intrathoracic pressure. Though the left ventricular systole is shortened, thereby the A2 comes earlier. So therefore, during inspiration, A2 occurs earlier than P2. Hence, splitting of the second heart sound widens during inspiration. Exactly opposite thing happens during expiration, and the splitting narrows. There can be something called as narrow splitting. This occurs when the left ventricle takes more time to empty than the right ventricle. It is seen in left bundle branch block and left ventricular failure. So what about the significance? We have already seen. So there is splitting in the second heart sound, which is normal, whereas splitting in the first heart sound is always abnormal or pathological. The third heart sound is due to the flow of blood from the atria to the ventricle. Is usually not heard in many healthy individuals. It may be heard in children and young adults, and is usually heard in conditions where the circulation becomes hyperkinetic, particularly anemia and beriberi. The third heart sound can arise from either side of the heart, but usually it arises from the left ventricle. It is caused due to the vibration set up in the ventricle during the early period of rapid ventricular filling. It has a duration of 0.05 seconds. It's low pitched. It's faint that occurs after the second heart sound. Best heard in apex beat. So heard in children gets increased during exercise. Whereas the fourth heart sound, it is during the atrial systole. It is inaudible and recorded as a few small pre-systolic vibrations. It always indicates an increased stiffness or non-compliance of the ventricle. It is seen in left ventricular hypertrophy due to hypertension, MI. So there can be murmurs which are heard, which occurs due to turbulence in the blood flow at or near the valve, or an abnormal communication with the heart. It is like purring of the cat. If you go backwards from over the hairs of the heart, that is what is the purring of cat. A palpable thrill is a murmur. A palpable. So murmurs differ from the normal heart sounds in the sense that they are of longer duration and higher frequency, whereas the heart sounds are of shorter duration and lower frequency. When the murmur is present, the following points has to be noted: the site of origin, the timing, the character, the radiation, and its relation to. Having completed the general examination, the clinical examination of CVS, we need to know the history of the patient, whether there is breathlessness, tiredness, lethargy, or there is. So second is we need to examine the general physical examination. We look for anemia, clubbing, cyanosis, edema, and any abdominal signs, and look out for vitals, particularly the blood pressure, the pulse, BP, and jugular venous pulse. And we go for local examination, wherein we check out for the inspectory findings. We inspect, we look for, and we feel for palpation, that is palpate and percuss, and finally auscultate. So what do we inspect? The shape, abnormal pulsation, veins, and apical impulse, which is the definite pulse, usually seen in the precordium. So the word is precordium, which is the anterior aspect of the chest in the left fifth intercostal space, about 1 centimeter medial to midclavicular line. The precordial region is inspected for the apical impulse. Normally we look for the CVS, the cardiac couch, the cardiac bed, which has a 45-degree, and we look at tangentially to the surface of the chest with the patient subject lying down. And we look for the palpatory findings, confirm the inspection by palpation. It is palpated by placing the palm of the hand and look. We are checking for the apex beat, the parasternal heave, tender points, palpable thrill. Okay? And finally we percuss for the borders of the heart. The left middle finger is the pleximeter, which is tapped gently over the right middle finger, which is the plexar. The right and left borders are well defined, but the upper and lower borders are not well defined. Auscultation is, we auscultate with the stethoscope. The 4 areas of the auscultation points are where the mitral area, the tricuspid, the aortic and pulmonary area, and we look for the heart sounds and splitting. Normally first heart sound is heard. This one is better heard over mitral and tricuspid area. It is prolonged, low pitched, and due to closure of AV valves. So when you write mitral and tricuspid, yes, both. One question here is all the sounds are heard over the heart. S1 is better heard than S2 in mitral and tricuspid, whereas in aortic and in pulmonary area, S2 is better heard than S1. So we need to know at the end of the class how to localize with the palm and with the ulnar border and locate the palpate, for the apex beat. As you know, from we come downwards from the second intercostal space, that is the angle of the manubrium sterni, and count downwards second, third, fourth, below the second rib is second, third, fourth, fifth, and from there we check for the, after locating the apex, we measure it. It should be 1 centimeter medial to mid clavicular line, and so you need to know where there is displacement and absent. A brief surface marking of the borders of the heart. What are the rules of percussion, and about art sounds, and what are the auscultatory areas, as I told you, mitral, tricuspid, pulmonary and aortic. And the sequence are, first is mitral, followed by tricuspid, third is aortic, fourth is pulmonary. And the next class will be taking about ECG. So, thank you.